Hello and welcome everybody to Movie Battleground Reborn. Do not adjust your dials. I am your host for the night, Kevin, the Philosopher Boss. You will see why in just one moment. We have an excellent matchup coming at you tonight. We have Noah McCausland at 1-1, taking on your usual illustrious host, Aaron Connole. He is 1-0. So I'm not going to do much vamping because this isn't my usual realm. So we're going to go ahead and bring in our competitors. We're going to start with the 1-1 competitor, Noah McLovin McCausland. What's up?
Pretty good. How are you doing today?
Doing well, man. Glad to be here and glad to be, a part of this debate. So how have you been preparing for this one against Aaron, who has pretty much seen like 50 debates by
now? At this point, I'm trying not to take in mind the competitor, but continue doing my normal process of kind of watching movies and writing down my personal thoughts as well as researching some reviews of them as well. I guess the level of focus is determined by the competitor and who I'm up against. For Henry, that first match, I kind of didn't really know what I was doing, so I didn't really have much focus, much preparation. But as it's gone along, I've been able to sit down and prepare a little bit more and kind of delve in a little bit more into, for myself, I feel like I have better arguments for each match. So now against Aaron, I hope I continue to better myself and whatnot. I know he's going to be a good competitor, so it's going to be a fun match to watch.
Indeed. All right. Good luck. I'm going to drop you to the back as we bring for your competitor. He is 1-0, and he is the host and creator of Movie Battleground Reborn, Aaron Connole. What's up, buddy?
Good. Happy to be here isn't quite the word, but we had a tournament that needed a slot, and I took it, and I fucking won. So here I am. That's how that works.
Welcome to the jungle. In terms of preparation, you're over here juggling this tournament, like you said. How has that, forced your hand in terms of preparation? How have you had the time to prep?
I mean, in terms of preparation, a lot of the time when I'm doing, because, in addition to doing this, I'm also, a full-time student. And a lot of the times when I'm doing homework or when I'm doing the behind the scenes, like administration crap for the show, I have a movie on in the background. And it just means that when I'm preparing, instead of having whatever I choose to watch, I'm forcing myself to put on the movies that are important to see for the debate. So I guess that's the biggest difference, is just it angles what I'm watching to a particular type of film.
Absolutely. That's the way you got to do it. Sometimes you got to fit in those films when you can. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring Noah back in, and I'll go over some rules with you guys. We do have some judges in the background. JD Domash, Brian Nussbaum, and I will be filling in as the third judge for the time being, probably for the match.
It's a surprise. We'll see.
It could be a surprise. You may have a surprise judge jump in. All right. So here are your rules. Best of 5 rounds. First player 3 points does win the match. Each round is worth 1 point. If you get 3 points in a row, you win by knockout. Tie after round 4 activates round 5, which is the blind round. And let's jump into how this works in regulation. Rounds 1 through 4. Stage 1 is 60-second opening argument. Stage 2 is a 2-minute solo pitch. Stage 3, you get a 4-minute open debate, at which time both competitors will be on screen at the same time, going arm in arm, cat clawing at each other. And then you will each get a 1-minute closing after that to wrap it up. At which time the judges will be brought back on screen, and they will determine who wins each round. All right. Are there any questions before we get started, gentlemen?
Good to go.
Best of luck, man.
Yep. Good luck, guys.
It'll be a fun one.
And so, since let's see, I'm not sure, Aaron. You'll have to tell me who goes first.
Yes, that's fine. So because based on bracket placing from random wheel spin, I was in the favorite position, which seems like the most fucked up thing ever. I was the favorite, so I chose to go first on questions 1 and 3. Noah will go first on 2 and 4.
There we go. Thank you. All right. So, Aaron, since you're going first on questions 1 and 3, so we'll start with question 1. I'm going to drop myself to the no.
Which is?
I'm not going to drop myself to the back yet. I'll read you the question first. I'll get used to this.
Okay, you're still doing better than the last time Matt tried this.
I'll get used to this before the end of the match. Here we go. Question number 1 is, what MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe film that was nominated for but lost the Academy Award for that should have won that award? So I'll repeat that. What MCU film that was nominated for but lost an Academy Award should have won that award? All right.
I think Kevin is drunk again.
I'm really not. I swear.
I'm kidding.
I think his internet's drunk is part of it.
I get out of my geek realm and I get a little nervous. I'm sorry.
No worries. I'm just giving you shit.
I know.
Okay, the first 12 minutes is all nerd shit. Then it gets to the tough stuff.
That is true. So I should fit right in. All right. So now I'm going to get out of the way, drop myself to the back. That's where I belong. And go ahead, Aaron, when you see the timer.
All right, so let's get into this. This was a bit of a tough question for me personally because I looked at the very nice list that Kevin sent to me and went, yeah, I get why most of those lost. Truthfully, but the pick I went with is the one that I think I most agreed with, which is Iron Man, the first Iron Man, losing Best Visual Effects to The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Now, the thing about Academy Awards is I think when you're arguing the validity of a win, part of that comes with hindsight included. Obviously, at the time is at the time, but I think we also have to look at the hindsight of why this should have won over this. And to me, Iron Man is a film with its visual effects that has held up and to an extent looks better than a chunk of its predecessors, whereas I don't believe Curious Case of Benjamin Button has held up, and I think that it has been replicated to better success following it.
All right, Aaron, with a nice first round there. Noah, 1 minute. Opening argument begins now.
I want to take you all back to a year in 2017. This rap artist released an album called Damn, and it became very listened to and even won a Grammy for Best Album that year. And then this artist, Kendrick Lamar, went and decided to do, he didn't decide, he probably was asked to do a soundtrack for Black Panther. And he continued the momentum from Damn into Black Panther and created one of the best soundtracks in the MCU, if not the best MCU, with the best song. He should have won the best song, best original song, All the Stars with SZA, rather than Lady Gaga winning Shallows with Bradley Cooper. And I'm just going to concede the rest of my time.
All right. So, Noah conceding that time there. Let me stop. There we go. Okay. I did my job. So, Noah going with All the Stars for Best Original Song. Aaron going with Iron Man for Best Visual Effects. 2 minutes going to Aaron for your 2-minute solo pitch.
Okay, so yeah, to continue with Iron Man first, Iron Man is a film, specifically, obviously, the bulk of its visual effects is in the Iron Man suit itself. And when you look at that Iron Man suit now, more than 10 years removed, and you look at some of the variants that came after it later, it actually looks far more realistic than some of the films that followed it. Specifically, the one that stands out to me is Avengers Infinity War, which was also nominated for VFX and did not win. But in that film, despite the fact that they've had 10 years to improve CGI, the suit looks like shit at times. It really does. Whereas in Iron Man, that and the Ironmonger suit as well always look perfect with each other. And that's because it's a mix of both practical and CGI effects. The curious kit, which makes it look better and age better, because it's not all just computer imaging that's obviously going to improve with time. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button kind of falls into that latter. There's a little bit of makeup on Brad Pitt, but most of that is VFX of them de-aging his face. And while at the time it did look cool, and I understand how the kind of buzz of it could make it potentially win an Oscar, when you look at it in hindsight, that effect has not aged well, and it's been done better in films since. Now, the whole de-aging thing has had other issues come up in the process. For example, the Irishman guys looked better in the face, but they still moved like 70-year-olds, so it didn't quite work. But that's another issue. The actual CG on the face worked. With All the Stars, it is a good song, but with the Best Original Song at the Oscars, how the song plays into the film does at times tend to play a part in what wins the Academy Award. And Shallow is just so much more integral to that film for its music than All the Stars, which is at best a credit song that does sound good.
All right. So Aaron's 2 minutes there. Sorry about that. And so Noah, you get your 2-minute solo pitch and when you begin, I'll go ahead and start it a little bit late.
I'm glad you brought up Infinity War, because I feel like in all of the Marvel movies, Infinity War and Endgame are going to have the better special effects. One, because they're going to be in a later time, so the technology is going to be a little bit better, but also because some of those films probably had a little more time to be worked on visually too. And we're talking about visual effects. Visual effects is very different from special effects. Special effects being the on-set effects that are used, such as fire and water and all that. So when you're talking about visual effects, you're talking about the CGI that's created on computers for that scene. Iron Man isn't even the best in the MCU. I think it goes to Infinity War with that, especially that battle between Doctor Strange and Thanos. But even for 2007, 2008, when it was nominated for the Oscar for best visual effects, it shouldn't even go to that. It shouldn't even go to Benjamin Button. Honestly, it should go to Dark Knight, which was also nominated, because the thing about visual effects is you have amazing visual effects when you don't know that they're there, when you don't know that they're working. And in the case of Benjamin Button, but also Dark Knight, there are moments in the film that depict scenes that have visual effects used, such as water or buildings in the background, that you wouldn't even know otherwise, because it is that well done. In Iron Man, you can still see the visual effects, even though they are pretty good. You can still notice when they're happening. It is a little bit harder to disguise them. Talking about All the Stars, Lamar has a plethora of Grammy nominations and wins since 2015, like Best Rapper Performance and a Song, and he has won Best 2 Albums. So he knows how to write music and lyrics. He's produced an amazing soundtrack for Black Panther and ending it with All the Stars. And the song itself has a beautiful meaning, which I'm going to get into further. I'll just concede my time for now.
All right. Noah conceding that little bit that he had left. So here we go into the 4-minute round. Like I said, it's open debate, so you guys can go at it. Just don't take too much time, or I'll cut in and let the other person speak. So here we go. 4 minutes when you start speaking.
So you're talking about how All the Stars is more like an end credit song. It doesn't really have any meaning integral with the story. It does. In the song, it has messages like owning your truth, finding your voice and power in a situation, trying to bring you down. and it perfects a meaning and ending companion to a film about fixing the mistakes of the past and rising above them. So it does have a lot of meaning that's integral to the story. But not only that, but it's performed in such a catchy and very listenable way.
Fair, but in terms of with Shallow and why that won the award, yes, the themes and message of that song relate to the film, but so does every song on that album. Honestly, in my opinion, the only reason All the Stars gets the nomination is because it's the only song that they used in the film. They had an entire album at their dispersal, and they picked the one song they launched as the lead single prior to the film coming out. I think if you look at the album as a whole, what All the Stars does, if you want to talk about its lyricism, I think Bloody Waters does that better. If you want to talk about a catchy pop song, I think songs like King's Dead or 10 do that better. The album has songs that do everything that All the Stars does, but better. They just don't get the nomination because they're not in the film. The film chose not to use anything else for whatever reason. And that is what it is. But All the Stars gets that nom because it's the only song with any kind of prominence. Whereas Shallow is a song that's in a movie. It's not quite a musical, but it features a ton of music that is portraying the story of the film and the character's emotions. And Shallow comes at a seminal point in the film where Lady Gaga's character is emerging out and becoming the star that she is meant to be with Bradley Cooper at her side. And it's the turn of that film moving into the second half. It just means so much more to that film, as well as also being a commercial success like All the Stars was. And that's why it wins, because it checked all the boxes that All the Stars did.
I disagree. I feel like All Stars was the best in the entire album and definitely deserved to be featured at the end. I remember sitting in the theater as the credits start to roll and that song pops up with the really beautiful, I think like a palette that's going on in the background with the Black Panther. But not only that, but it's just a beautiful song. It has like tribal beats that were featured earlier in the movie with fights and everything, and beautiful vocals from SZA, which we haven't even mentioned, who is extremely talented, and she sounds absolutely amazing in this song, and a great verse from Kendrick Lamar, and he always has excellent delivery and meaning. Shallows, though, the only thing holding it really is Lady Gaga and her singing, and the choruses. The beginning doesn't really hold up with the rest of the song. They have plotting verses, and let's be honest, Bradley Cooper is passable, but he's not really a singer.
Well, in the context of the film, Bradley Cooper is supposed to be an aging star whose life choices have kind of led to his waning abilities anyway. So the fact that he's not a top-tier singer kind of plays into the point of the story in a way that I think actually really works. And again, with All the Stars, it only gets the nom because it's on the album. It's the only one that's really in the movie. If you want to talk about a song that features great vocals from the person doing the chorus and a great Kendrick Lamar feature, Pray For Me with The Weeknd also has that, but it's not prominently featured in the movie. I think it shows up for all of a minute in the background of a fight scene. This got the nom because it was a huge soundtrack that put one song at the forefront, and that's all you could nominate it for. Whereas I think Shallow is much more integral to the film. Also, just to quickly go back to my film, since we've talked about yours so much, the visual effects in Iron Man are going to be more visual than in other films because the biggest visual effect is the suit. So, of course, it's going to be more prominent. Also, the Academy defines visual effects as both practical and digital. The award used to only mean practical.
And that's the time. All right, the 4-minute debate is up. We will go to Aaron for your 1-minute closing argument.
All right, so Shallow deserved to win the Song Award for that year because it meets all the requirements. It's integral to the film. It was a commercial success. It features big stars that can get to come and perform at their fancy award show. All the Stars is a good song from a great album, but because it was the forward single that was put out ahead of the film, it's the one they chose to appear in it. If any other song had a prominent part in that film, it would have gotten probably nominated over it. That doesn't mean it's a bad song. I love Kendrick Lamar, and I agree with all his other success, but that has nothing to do with this one song in this situation. Iron Man should have won Best Visual Effects because compared to Benjamin Button, which did win, it holds up over the years. It holds up much better over the years. And in terms of earlier when you were talking about Infinity War, the reason I compared it to Infinity War is because Iron Man doesn't have a visual effect that lapses, which I think is a big deal. Infinity War may have Thanos, but for every Thanos, you get an Iron Man suit. So it has good visual effects, but it also has bad. Iron Man is 100% consistent all the way through and away. None of the other was work.
And that's it on the 60 seconds. All right, Noah, close us out with your 60-second argument.
When we're talking about nominations that should have won for that year, we're going to talk about that year specifically, not what happens in the future, not what how it holds up over time. Benjamin Button, for that time, was using revolutionary technology and ways to be able to create that aging effect, to be able to take Brad Pitt, wrong Brad, and then be able to put on all that digital effect and make it look revolutionary. It deserves to be in that talk. But I feel like Dark Knight does it even better. Like I said, for visual effects, it becomes great when you can hardly tell that they're there. Shallow, yes, it does play a good part into the movie, but so does all the stars. Kendrick Lamar knows how to write music. He knows how to deliver it. SZA has a gorgeous voice. We're talking about best song. It deserves to be best song because it was that best song in the album. That's why it's featured. It's kind of hard to have like a rap song singing over the rest of the movie and be heard.
All right. That ends first. The first question in the debate is over. So we will drop these two to the back. Good job, guys. And we'll bring forward JD and Brian. And luckily, and I'll bring myself. Luckily, Stacy has just shown up. That is our surprise guest judge. I'll bring her on screen, but she will start on question number 2. So let's go to JD. What are your thoughts? Who got your vote? Let's keep it as concise as possible.
Yep. It was close. I believe they both argued well why both of them are worthy of the choice. It came down to the counters for me. And ultimately, I went with Aaron because I think he argued against Noah's points really well, talking about, yes, it does hold up, and yes, it is going to be visual because you're dealing with a suit. And yes, the Academy does define visual effects as practical and visual effects. Whereas, I think Noah, he tried, but I didn't really hear, when compared to the rest of the soundtrack, which was one of Aaron's big points, the rest of the soundtrack is better. He didn't really compare the other songs on Black Panther with, all the stars. And that was never really touched on. So ultimately, and I do think Shallow is an integral song to the movie. So ultimately, I went with Aaron.
All right. So one tally mark towards Aaron. Brian, which way are you going?
I'm going to go Aaron as well. Aaron knocked out Noah's point on how the song makes better for the film, how he knocked that out, and also everything what Jay just said, I agree with.
All right, absolutely. So with that, Aaron wins the first point. We'll say goodbye to our judges and bring back forth our competitors. And I'll say
Good
goodbye.
Good shit, man.
And so that will take us into question number 2, which I promise is not as wordy or it won't break your brain. But it is in the realm of Denis Villeneuve, an excellent director. But my question to you, gentlemen, what is the worst film directed by Denis Villeneuve? So, Noah, this time you will be going first. So with that being said, your 60 seconds as I restart this. Your 60 seconds will begin when you start, sir.
You take at Denis Villeneuve's filmography and you look on there and you say, wow, there really isn't a bad movie on here. That being said, there are some movies on here that do lack where others are abundant. But there's one film in particular, which it's a good movie, but it's not his best. And it is definitely not, it has to be his worst, even though it's not a bad movie. And I'm going to be talking about Polytechnique. And that movie is about the Polytechnique shooting, I believe, in Canada. It was at a university. This movie it's a good movie, and it's a good portrayal about the horrific atrocities that occurred. But there are some problems with it that I feel like other movies do better. And so I'm going to concede my time.
All right, Noah's going to concede that time there, 5 seconds or so, and go ahead and get started if you'd like, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to begin by reiterating Noah's point. When you look at Denis Villeneuve's filmography, it is very impressive how he really doesn't have a standout bad film on it. So it comes down to, when you look at it, what is the film that just doesn't stand up to the rest? And for me, that film was his 2000 movie, Maelstrom. To kind of give the synopsis of it, because I know it is a bit of a lesser seen film, Maelstrom, to try and write the best one-liner about it, it is a film about a woman who is going through several hardships, and you're kind of following her throughout this story. But the problem is the one-liner doesn't actually explain the plot. To me, Maelstrom is Denis' worst because it was made so early in his career that you see all these elements in it that will come to be big for him in later films, but I just don't quite think he had the mastery on the filmmaking yet at the time, and it makes for a very packed movie.
And that'll wrap it up with Aaron's opening argument. All right, so we'll go to Noah's 2-minute pitch, and we'll start when you begin speaking, sir.
Polytechnique is a short 1 hour and close to 20-ish minutes, I believe. Kevin can fact check me on that. And it's a snail's pace. It crawls. It's probably very slow paced to me. And it tries to introduce suspense into the film. But it's done better in Sicario, and it's better done in Prisoners. So he's doing techniques in this movie that he's doing better in later movies. The jump in, there's a lot of things that don't make sense in this movie. Like there's a jump in time after the shooting with the guy who tries to help people during the shooting. And it doesn't really do much for the film except for give the audience a different reason for killing himself and his guilt when you find the reveal later on. The film is very shallow with its metaphors and its messages, as they're very upfront. And the black and white doesn't really do much for me anyway, besides describe the morality of the shooter and his actions. Like, it's obviously black and white. What he's doing is wrong, and the repercussions of his actions, as well as trying to lessen the gore of the movie, because it is a very violent movie with the shooting. Maelstrom is a fucking bonkers movie, and that takes huge risks, and I believe pays off. The movie starts with a fucking fish talking, and it's a live action movie. I just think it pays off. The themes are pretty deep in this movie. It focuses on healing and recovery, as well as the horrifying act that happened. Let's see. It's a meditation on the disconnection between the glossy surfaces of high-end existence and life and death realities they camouflage. That's shown with the death of the fish, as well as the death of the person she hits with her car. There's wonderful parallels between the life that she lost in her abortion and the old man she killed being burned to the life that she saved with the guy. I'm going to concede my time.
All right, Noah conceding the few seconds he had there. Aaron, let's hear your 2-minute solo pitch when you begin talking.
Okay, so I'll begin by conceding to you that, as I said, this is a film that does have elements that work in it. But the problem is there's so much happening that I don't think it all quite works to the extent that it could. So as Noah said, yes, the movie begins with a magical talking fish that serves as the narrator. But the problem there is the film has a narrator that is used inconsistently, because there are times where the fish is narrating a scene, just a voice. Then there are times where we randomly cut back to the fish. And then there are times where, when the fish should be speaking and giving narration, they use old silent film cue cards that cut in with a line that you have to read to then go back to the film. It's very inconsistent with how it uses its narration and its kind of setup. The movie also just tries to be too much at once. It starts out in the beginning focusing on a woman whose personal and professional life is falling apart. They hint at alcohol and drug addiction, but they don't ever really go there. It's just kind of a thing in her life that they're hinting at. Then at about 30 minutes in, it becomes this really deep psychological film when, I guess, spoiler alert for a film that's 21 years old, she hits an old man and kills him, and in the panic of it, she drives away, so it's a hit and run. And once that happens, the movie transitions from being a very straightforward drama into being this really, I mean, aside from the fish, to being this really weird film where all of a sudden they're doing cutaways to different things and parts of the story are now being told out of order. And it's using all this weird imagery that just, it comes out of nowhere. It goes from being a very straightforward film to doing this. And then it does another switch again where in the last 25 minutes it becomes a romance drama where she meets the son of the man she's killed, and in 25 minutes they have a date, they fall in love, then they do a liar revealed story where she lies about who she is and he finds out, and he has an existential crisis about loving the woman that killed her dad, all in 25 minutes. So it's rushed and doesn't pay off at the end.
All right, that's it for the 2-minute solo pitches. We're going to jump right into the 4-minute debate. Gentlemen, like I said before, don't talk over each other. Here we go. When someone
Polytechnique is, I think it's a film that goes for something very simple, and I think it works beautifully. Yes, it does themes that Denis does on a more complex level in later films, but this film isn't going for that. It's telling a harrowing true story that was very close to his heart because he was of college age when this shooting actually happened. And everything in it, as it says at the start, is based off of real people. That character that tries to help the girls and then ends up killing himself is fictional in the context of the film, but that is something that really happened to a student. And it's a prime example of the film trying to show you the feeling that was in the world at that point in Quebec, Canada, where it happened, where this kid, despite everybody else running away and doing nothing to help these girls, he's the only person who does, and even he still lives with the guilt of seeing what he saw and not doing more. And I think in that sense, it's beautifully executed.
I think he's the best part of the movie. I agree, especially the actor. I think he did a great job. But that being said, he's the best part of the movie. I feel like the other actresses aren't as good. The female, I don't know her name. I really didn't get any emotion from her. There was a scene where she was in the bathroom after going through an internship interview, and it doesn't go well, and she's in the bathroom, and it looks like she's supposed to be upset, and she just has a straight face on, so the emotions aren't really there. I don't really feel connected to these characters at all, and I feel like it could be more efficiently executed to provide what the horrifying events that happened if it wasn't in black and white, so we could have seen that the gore and the horrific atrocities that occurred.
So to go specifically about that scene, again, so you find out after that scene that the interview actually went well. The reason there's a conflicted look on her face is because despite the fact that she got the job, she had to lie about wanting to have children because the person who was doing the interview, who was very clearly a sexist and a misogynist, believed that if she was a woman who one day wanted to have kids, she could not succeed. So she had to lie about who she is and her intentions in order to succeed, and that would naturally rise a lot of conflict within you about people's doubt and belief in you to succeed despite having the credibility to do so.
So that being said, we don't really see that. We don't really see that emotion being displayed, but also it touches on that movie touches on little themes like that. It touches on themes of feminism and of the patriarchy and of men always kind of judging women about not wanting to start a family or having other jobs, but also touches on other themes like healing from a horrific event and overcoming that traumatic event at the end that they don't fully dive into. The themes in this movie are very shallow, which I feel like Maelstrom takes a risk and pulls off different genres inside one movie and different themes inside one movie, and I feel like it pays off. I feel like it's a very intriguing watch and it's a very fun watch, even though there's some wacky parts of it.
Maelstrom, again, it should be said, neither of these are terrible. But when we're talking about worst film, Maelstrom tries to do so much in just as short a runtime. It's 8 minutes longer than your film is, and that's counting credits. And it tries to jam pack so much more into it. Whereas with Polytechnique, part of the reason they don't dive into it and like kind of psychoanalyze everything the way a film would nowadays is because unlike America, where every week something's getting shot up, that doesn't really happen in Canada. That event 20 years later was still something very traumatic to go back to and make a film about, to the point where it got ravaged just because of its subject matter. People didn't want to watch the film, and it failed financially because of that, because it's so sensitive. And I think Denis does it at such a level where it doesn't hurt anyone's feelings. You're muted, Kev, if you're trying to speak to us.
That's what I get for muting myself. Sorry about that. All right, so that ends the debate time. I was sitting there rambling, trying to stop the clock, if you couldn't tell. All right, so great 4-minute debate there by both gentlemen about a great director. And we will start with Noah for your 60-second closing argument. I'll give you back those 6 seconds. You can go ahead and begin talking.
I'll be counting, Kevin. I feel like Maelstrom, like I said, it takes the risks and it pays off. It has so many different genres and things that happen in the movie that I feel like it makes it an intriguing watch. It doesn't feel jam-packed. It doesn't feel rushed. There are only a couple of events that happen in the movie, and you can easily follow along with what happened. I feel like the inconsistencies that Aaron was talking about make sense, and they add to the movie's character. I feel like even though the runtime for Polytechnique is short, it tries to flesh out that runtime even more, and it only delves just a little bit into the themes and to the message it's trying to say. The artistic choices don't really make sense to me. The black and white doesn't make sense in a stylistic standpoint. The actors don't do as good of a job as they do in Maelstrom, save for that one guy who tries to go back and save everyone. The messages in Maelstrom are just a lot better. There's wonderful parallels.
And that will cut it off. All right, so we will move to Aaron to finish out this round. Go ahead and start with your 60-second closing argument when you begin speaking.
Maelstrom may be an interesting watch, sure, I will give you that, but interesting isn't always good. There are interesting films that are also not great or bad. To me, Maelstrom is a filmmaker in their early days that knows what type of films they want to make, but doesn't quite know how to make it. And so in this film, there is so much jam-packed into a film that's only an hour 25, where it seems like every 20, 30 minutes, your plot is changing at such a rapid rate that nothing ever pays off. Things get forgotten in the story. Like I said, she starts out as a floundering drug and alcohol addict, and that's gone by the 20th minute. There's no sign of her struggling with that through the rest of the film. Polytechnique is a film that wasn't trying to deliver a message. It was trying to go for emotion. It wants to make you feel the fear that these people are experiencing in this situation, and also feel the clear gender divide. I mean, it was a shooting that began because the guy just didn't like women advancing and decided to go kill some at a polytechnical college. And it makes you feel that raw emotion.
Cut off right there. All right, great debate in round number 2. We will cut that off there, and I will drop these gentlemen to the back. And I will bring the 3 judges forward. All right, judges, what say you? A great round 2. We will start this time with Brian.
For me, I'm going to give this round to Aaron. He mentioned how the plot is inconsistent and how it goes different places everywhere.
All right, and Stacy, what is your opinion?
I also went with Aaron. That movie sounds like a horrible piece of trash that I would love, but it sounded very, very bad. So I haven't seen either. So based on the descriptions, that sounded like the worst movie.
All right. So that wraps it up. Aaron with a clean sweep. I'll drop the judges to the back and bring the competitors to the. Aaron up 2-0. But that brings us to question number 3, which when I wrote these questions, I think this was the most fun in my mind. I called this one rated R. Question: what is the best in general pirate film?
If you want to do take 2 on your joke, the internet cut out right as you were getting to the punchline.
Yeah, I'll do a take 2. So I had a. All right, here we go. So I had a lot of fun when I got to write these questions. And, when Aaron write all these questions, and I know a lot of them have been some real thinkers, but when this one came up, I decided to label it rated R. I want to know, what is the best pirate film of all time? All right, and so Aaron will be going first on question number 3. We'll go ahead and bring up the clock, which it looks, but I promise it's not. All right, and Aaron, your 60-second opening begins when you begin speaking.
So, as Kevin said, he wrote this question clearly with a lot of joy, and I'm sure he was hoping to hear some great big swashbuckling argument about how great guys with accents and poofy pants are. And I'm going to go ahead and ruin that one. I went with Captain Phillips. It is a film about pirates, but not in the traditional sense, because it's a very realistic, grounded take. This is the real story of Captain Rich Phillips, who was on a U.S. freight ship carrying stuff through African waters when he was boarded by Somalian pirates. And to me, this is the best film because when you look at pirate films as a genre, some of them are fun and a lot of them are terrible. This is a film that is about pirates that elevates above that. It is Academy level with a Best Picture nom, a Best Director nom, multiple other technical nominations. And to me, when we're talking about pirates in film, this rises above what you expect to be the best.
All right. Perfect on the timing there. Noah, your 60-second argument begins when you begin speaking.
I can't think of a single person when asked to think of a pirate movie will say, "Oh, Captain Phillips, that's a great pirate movie." When you think of pirate movies, you think of the old wooden ships with the masts, you think of swords, you think of guns, you think of cannons. And the best pirate movie in that sense is going to be Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. It's a great finale to a great trilogy. We're not even counting the other two because those are hot buckets of garbage. It's everything you want in a pirate movie. It's got the comedy, it's got the action, it's got tension, and it's got emotion in it that it pays off and it doesn't feel short-rifted. I'm also going to consume the rest of my time because I got a lot more to talk about in about 2 minutes.
All right. Interesting strategy there by Noah. Being down 2-0, giving up that 60 seconds, which I'm trying to waste. And I think I've done a good job of it. Here we go. 2-minute arguments are about to start. Aaron, your 2-minute argument begins when you begin speaking. I love you, Noah.
All right. I agree with one thing you said in that statement a lot, and that is that On Stranger Tides and Dead Men Tell No Tales in the Pirates of the Caribbean series, because they fucking killed it with that film, are hot buckets of trash. They are fucking awful films. But I'm sorry, I'm going to throw the third one in with them. It's not a good film. This is a movie that is it's over 3 fucking hours, or if it's not over 3 hours, then it is like right under the fucking wire of 3 hours. It's overly long. It's overly complicated. There's about 5 different plots happening in this film, because first you got to go and rescue Captain Jack Sparrow, and then you got to worry about a wasted oh my god, I think it's Chow Yun Fat. You got to worry about him being in the film and being introduced and set up, except he's not really, but he's got a whole plot line. And then you got to worry about Davy Jones, but then you also got to worry about the British guys. And it's like, what made the first film in that series brilliant is that it was a film that on paper you could overcomplicate, but it was a simple story. A group of pirates are cursed and they want to break the curse. It's a very simple idea. The second film, to an extent, and even more so in the third film, overcomplicate this to such a level that I don't, it honestly, it hurts the first film, because it means you want that fun, adventurous sequel and you never really get it. All this film has going for it is a really cool looking CG fight scene in the third act, but sitting through the first 2.5 hours of this film to get there it's not worth it. It just isn't. It's big, it's bloated, it brings nothing new to the table. This is the first film, really, after the first two, where Captain Jack Sparrow, a once Academy-nominated performance, starts to feel overused, overwrought. They're just getting the bottom of the barrel out with this one, and then they dive further in the other two.
And time. All right. McLovin, give us your 2-minute solo pitch when you begin speaking.
At World's End takes everything built upon it and the first movie, Curse of the Black Pearl, and improves upon it and makes it better. Sometimes simple equals better, sometimes more equals better. And in this case, it's more equals better. The visual effects in this movie, like we talked about in a previous question, the visual effects in this movie are going to be, they hold up and can be compared to some of the films today. Bill Nighy is terrifying, but also very compelling at the same time. You are scared as shit to look at him, like to be around him, because you feel like you're in the same space, but also you feel bad for him because of that little love story. And that's just one of the stories that are in there that they bring in. And I feel like adds so much to the film. You feel that connection to him, but at the same time being scared of him. All the actors and characters are working perfectly together. There's a lot of them, but it pays off all the time. There's really good comedic moments between everyone. The drama and the tension is real and believable. All the scenes feel magical. Johnny Depp is at the top of his game. He holds numerous scenes by himself, talking to himself, and somehow makes it entertaining and funny to watch. He licks a rock, and it makes people laugh. He has a conversation with him in a prison where he licks a brain, and it makes it fun to watch. Captain Phillips drags on with however minutes it has. I think it's shorter actually than the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, but it drags well as Pirates of the Caribbean. It happens so fast. The time in the movie is really weird. His performance at the end feels over-exaggerated and is different from the calm and calculating captain that we've seen. His accent is kind of weird. He hasn't quite nailed it down. There's too much waiting and dramatic reflection in the beginning of this movie and only saves about the last 30 minutes for the action.
You are muted again, Kevin. And unfortunately, I can't unmute you.
Sorry about that. All right. So as we move into the 4-minute round, we will. Here we go. When you guys begin speaking,
Okay. So,
I said, okay, I go.
So I just want to get out and say, a good portion of what you talked about was devoted to Johnny Depp licking things. Let's just take that for what it is. That's entertainment in that film.
That was 2 sentences.
But also, listen, I got to take my shots, right? Captain Phillips doesn't need to be an action film for the bulk of its runtime.
When you think of a pirate movie, that's what you think of, though. You think of action, you think of sailing.
You think of a movie with pirates in it. It doesn't really matter what pirates or what they do with it. It needs to be a film with pirates. Captain Phillips just elevates above that. Let's talk about Barkhad Abdi, an actor who had never acted before. He is I believe he's Somalian American technically, but he's actually a Somalian native who was brought into the film having never acted, and he portrays every angle of that character beautifully, from the savagery you need to be intimidated by him to the legitimate fear he feels for his situation back home and why he needs to do that. And you get the sense of he's doing this because he has to, not because he wants to. And for someone who's never acted before, he portrays that so well, enough to earn a nomination on his first go. That has to be taken for something, and that's better than anything in your film acting wise.
He's the best performance in that movie, and that's including a movie with Tom Hanks in it. Tom Hanks is all over the place. Yes, he's acting like he has to do this. I want to go back to that, but you're acting like he has to do this. It shows in previous scenes he doesn't. They're doing this for the money. They're doing this so they can become richer. He says like he stole a $6 million ship the other like a while ago. It tries to make you sympathize with these hijackers and these pirates when in real life they did something horrible. They went and tried to steal a ship. They held someone hostage, and there's no tension in this movie because we know what happens. We know what happens. We know Captain Phillips survives. Spoiler alert. We know what happens. We know those pirates end up dead. So there's no tension really built up.
There's no tension in your film either. We know Captain Jack's not going to die in a Pirates of the Caribbean film.
Yes, but there's tension when you see Davy Jones stab Will Turner through the heart, and you're like, they just got married. He and Elizabeth just got married, and now he just got stabbed through the heart. It adds tension. It adds.
I would argue that there's no tension in that scene. In fact, I think they telegraphed that way too much ahead of time with all the stuff earlier in the film about Bootstrap Bill talking about, oh, don't let Will be the one to kill him, otherwise he'll be attached to the ship, or whatever accent Stellan Skarsgård was doing in that film. I apologize, that was disrespectful. But they preface it so far in advance that they get married right as the battle's beginning, and then he gets stabbed by Davy Jones. And to me, that immediately telegraphs, oh, he's going to stab him and become a part of the ship. Again,
I wasn't talking about that
so
building tension.
on.
I was talking about the tension built with him leading up to being stabbed, because something's going to happen. But that battle has a lot of tension to begin with, because it's just them two. Davy Jones is being known for being absolutely cynical and terrifying, and for absolutely destroying the ships that he comes across. So that final battle between the Davy Jones crew in that ship, between everyone else, is just, it builds a lot of tension.
Yeah, and I gave you that at the start. The finale is good, but you have an entire 2-hour film ahead of it that you have to sit through, and that just does not hold up to what comes at the end. And it doesn't make it worth sitting through the film for that action scene, because it's not like it's one of the best action scenes of all time. It's a really good big battle in a pirate film. Captain Phillips is on a level in terms of an actual film that it doesn't need this big action sequence to make it worth it. It is worth it all on its own through its direction, performances, and writing.
And that will end the 4-minute open debate round. As we move to the closing debates, since Aaron started this one, Aaron will start the closing debates. 1 minute on the clock when you begin talking, sir.
Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End is not the worst in that series, but that's a very low bar to hit, so you have to be decent to not hit it. Unfortunately, in my opinion at least, and that's what we're arguing is our opinions, it's not the best pirate film of all time. It's not even the best film in that series. It's a long, bloated, overcomplicated film with like 4 different plots that converges into, yes, admittedly, a very well CG'd and choreographed action sequence at the end, but you have a mess of a 2-hour film beforehand that you have to wait through in order to get there, and it's just not as good as the previous 2 films. Captain Phillips is a film between Paul Greengrass's expert direction, the great script from Billy Ray, and the acting performances of Tom Hanks and Barkhad Abdi that allows you to feel the tension through the whole film on just that alone. We don't need anything big and explosive to compensate for that. And you said Barkhad Abdi being better than Tom Hanks, like that's some kind of diss to Hanks. Hanks is still really, really good in this film. The fact that he is outacted by Abdi shows just on what level everyone was working on this film.
And time. All right, so we move to Noah. Question number 3, the last closing argument. 60 seconds on the clock when you begin speaking, sir.
I haven't even mentioned the opening scene that's absolutely bone-chilling with all the people singing the pirate song and the kid getting hanged. I'm not even mentioning the score by Hans Zimmer, which is absolutely amazing and beautiful and gives me goosebumps every time I see it, and everyone can recognize it, and everyone in orchestra always wanted to play it. The subplots work well in the movie. Yes, there's a lot of them, but they all, like Aaron said, they converge into the end. They have that build-up that's so important. Also, they're intriguing. The relationships between Will and his father and how that impacts his relationship with Elizabeth are just one of those things. All the actors are working together. Bill Nighy is phenomenal. Captain Phillips drags with the runtime that it has, and hardly does much with it besides the last 30 minutes. Tom Hanks is fine, but he's just Tom Hanks in this movie. His performance at the end is a little bit over-exaggerated, and his accent is just not great. There's no really tension built up because we know what happens, so it doesn't try to do anything different with that.
All right, and that wraps up question number 3. As we get everybody all adjusted here, I do want to say I pulled up the time, and it was 167 minutes for Noah's film there. So Aaron, you said 2 hours, I think, and then 3 hours, 2 hours, 45 minutes. Not quite right in either way. But we're going to go to these 3 wonderful judges, and we are going to start this time with Stacy.
So I once again went with Aaron, and it was very, very, very close. But in the last minute, he said the thing I was waiting to hear, which was, that's not even the best Pirates of the Caribbean movie. And there was no response to that from Noah. And I'm just curious, was the first movie not an option? Because I don't understand why no one picked the first Pirates of the Caribbean. But anyway, so yeah, Aaron won on that. I'm saying what I was looking for.
All right, so JD, what say you?
You know, there's a part of me that really wants to throw it to Brian. Just throw it to Brian. I don't think I can. I was so ready to go with Noah. But ultimately, I just think there was too much that was not really defended. So I'm going to go with Aaron, unfortunately.
That means your winner by way of knockout, Aaron Connole. Nice job, buddy. Big win there. Through knockout. How are you feeling?
This doesn't compute. What? I've never, like, anyone who's been around like long enough to have seen the old matches, like all my OG players, like it was kind of a bit of a running joke. Not just myself, but like half of us that ran it at the time, none of us were very good at this. So the fact that I got put in, I beat Chris, and now somehow I've knocked out Noah, it legit, like, my voice makes me sound insincere because I don't know how to turn off sarcasm, but I promise I honestly don't know how this happened. Which, I mean, inherently means I'm probably going to get my shit rocked in the next round because as the producer, I also know what's on the table for me to play.
I know you probably won't pick me to host your next match.
No, you did great, man. Thank you. Considering I do on-the-job training, everyone who's helped me host has been great.
Yeah. Well, also in my question writing, I did try to throw in some interesting new stuff. I hope you like it. But as far as your what came at you, what do you see, like, if you pick a different person, do you think that changes things up for you as a player? Because everybody gets you as a producer, but not you might get somebody different kind of thing.
That I'd never thought of that as a perspective. I guess I don't put so much thought into it because as a writer myself, I'm always trying to come up with something interesting. If every single match was a repeat of like a best, a worst, an underrated, or an overrated, like that would, and obviously there's a lot of those. I'm not gonna lie, it's easy to do it, but it also, you got to come up with some interesting stuff every once in a while, and I think there was a good mix of that here. As I said to Noah in the chat, I fucking hated that first question from the moment I read it, but also as a producer, I understand the aspect of, listen, this is what you got, and you got to deal with it, and I did. I thought I lost that round, but apparently I somehow didn't. I wish I knew how to sound more sincere on the spot. I really do, but this is weird, man. And I was gonna say again, on the job training, stuff that I should provide you ahead of time is also my opponent, just because you don't have an access to a bracket. Which my next opponent will be the winner of Kevin Moreno or Henry Sanchez. Which Henry, after recording his match against Austin, when I showed Henry like an image of the bracket, he immediately was like, "Oh fuck, there's a percentage chance I play you." Hell yes. So I'm gonna get my shit rocked if I somehow end up playing Henry.
Henry,
and
the watering.
For me, it's kind of the vice versa of like, if there's a giant, then the giant slayer is just as scary. So Henry being 2-1 now, having taken out Austin, who was a good competitor, obviously I don't like the thought of playing Henry. I escaped it the first time around because I was never as good as him. But if I play Kevin, who takes out Henry, then that's also just as fucking terrifying because you beat Henry and that puts something on your name. I mean, look at Jay in the first half of the bracket. He came out of nowhere, beat Henry, and then freaking beat Amaru. Like, how do you, no one could have seen that coming. So yeah, I think I'm fucked either way. I want to sincerely apologize to Noah as the producer of the show. I don't know what happened here tonight, but it happened. I accept it, and I guess I play on.
You do play on. I guess I will say good luck. I guess if you feel like you're, there you go.
Sing me, Noah. Bring up that sea shanty from the Third Pirates and play me on my way out. We'll need that.
Yo ho! All right. Well, in the next round, Aaron, as we bring forth the unfortunate second place finisher here tonight, McLovin, Noah McCausland. A tough loss here tonight, buddy. Didn't go your way. I don't know if it was the questions, if it was just the maybe it just things didn't compute. With the judges. What's going through your head?
I thought it was a great match. I knew there was a good possibility of me winning and losing this match. So I was going into it thinking this is going to be a lot of fun. I know Aaron as a person. I know he's going to still try to put his best effort towards this, even if he doesn't have a lot of time to prep or anything like that. And I got what I wanted. It was a good match. I feel like it was a pretty even fight. And you wouldn't say that considering I just got knocked out. But I thought it was a fun match. I'd love to play against him again. It's probably going to be a little bit since he's one of the producers on the show. But yeah, I honestly don't know what I could have done better. I think maybe my movie choices a little bit. Like Stacy said, I think she had said, I probably should have chosen the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, but I felt like the third one fully encapsulated the whole series. And I do think Maelstrom is probably the worst movie than Polytechnique, even though I was trying to argue against it. But other than movie choices, you can
producer takeover here. Can we be honest with each other? Had either of us seen either of those films when we picked them? Because I know I had.
No, I didn't.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. But I think movie choice was some of it, but I know with enough debating and good points, you can make a bad movie seem like shit. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I will say, like, this was one of those kind of weird matches where, you know, the first two picks of each round went to Aaron. But I mean, in that first round, I was a judge. I didn't get to show my pick. It was for you, but for what that's worth. But anyway, you know, we'll see you back around. And I know we can definitely see, you know, your passion for debating, your passion for films, and you have a great style and an arguing move. When this tournament ends, get some other matches going. That 2021 matchup, kick some ass.
yep, I'm also in one of the Wizarding World matches, so I'm looking forward to that one.
Oh, very nice.
Awesome.
That sounds very appropriate because I know you're awesome at that too. All right, good luck, buddy.
Thanks,
All
appreciate
right.
it.
Yep, absolutely. We will take Noah out, and we will close this one out. Aaron wins by knockout 3-0. We will close it out, and I will say good night from Movie Battleground. Do you just do a little? Oh, do we do the closing? We do the.
No. I got one last thing to say.
Oh, you got something to say? Oh, Aaron's got something to say.
That I didn't inform you of. Again, guys, I promise it's not that Kevin's bad at this. I just don't give him anything ahead of time. Guys, this is guys, this was only the first match of two tonight, as this is our double upload event, the Battleground Blitz. So be sure to stick around. In just 10 minutes after this match, we do have another great match going up between Abel Deleu and Sean Hunter. So be sure to check that one out. Separate link will be posted to the Facebook page, but it'll be just a few minutes after this one. I'll do the quick thing because I'm getting better at saying it. Thank you to my great judges tonight in the form of JD Domash, Brian Nussbaum, Stacy, and of course, Kevin right next to me if I use the right directional. Shout out to Noah for putting up a great fight. Unfortunately, this is the way it ends. I mean that literally. And Kevin, now close us out.
All right, now I can close you out. Congratulations to our winner tonight by knockout, Aaron Connole. We'll see you in the next round, and good night from Movie Battleground.